With over 40 books that he has authored or edited, a career at Liberty University where he has touched tens of thousands of students and continues to do as the dean of the School of Divinity there, Dr. Ed Hindson, along with our friend Dr. Tim LaHaye, also a frequent guest at 100 Huntley Street, have put together this book that we want to get into your hands right away. It is current, it is fresh, it is something that you must see and read. It's called Target Israel, the subtitle, Caught in the Crosshairs of the End Times. Dr. Hindson is going to join us next week live in the studio here at Huntley Street. Right now, he's joining us via Skype, and what a delight to see you, sir. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, John. It's great to be with you and talk about such a timely topic at such a crucial time in the world's history.
Well, let's talk theology for just a moment, because so many in our audience will have been in church this past week, will be in church the next week, and some have talked about Israel from the standpoint, as you and I and Dr. LaHaye would see it, that God still has an ongoing relationship with Israel, and what's going on there right now is current, what's going on there is important, and it fits a biblical narrative. But there has been a growing reaction to that, something I believe you call replacement theology, where Israel is kind of, the relationship with Israel as we know it is done, and the church now is that new spiritual Israel, if you will. I may not be doing a great job explaining it. You're the theologian. Walk us through it and tell us why it's important to be aware of this worldview from a biblical perspective.
Well, there are many evangelical Christians that actually believe the church is the new Israel. And in that sense, the church has replaced the promises to Israel in the Old Testament. They would say those promises that are so clearly given in the prophets will never be fulfilled in Israel at any time in history. Let me give you just a couple of simple quotes, for example. Francis Piper, who's a Lutheran theologian, said one of the most despicable consequences of World War II is the fact that the Allies gave Palestine back to the Jews. Albertus Peters, the Reformed Church, said, it is God's will that there should no longer be any Jewish people in the world, but here they are. That is the sad fact of their wicked rebellion against God. And Lorraine Bettner, a Presbyterian, who said, Judaism should have disappeared. Its continued existence as the enemy of the Christian church is sinful. Now, it's one thing to say, I think the church has replaced Israel. Those are pretty extreme statements that I think betray a bias against the Jewish people, an anti-Semitism that was typical of the attitude of so many people in Europe during the time of World War II, and these guys are quoting this even after World War II. It's one thing to say, I think the church has a unique place in the plan of God, and obviously we do. It's another thing to say that God is finished with the Jewish people and God almost despises them and that their continued existence is sinful. The Apostle Paul himself wrestled with that issue when he said, has God rejected his people Israel forever? No, God forbid. Paul's statements in Romans 9, 10, and 11 make it pretty clear he still had a concern for the people of Israel. In fact, after Paul wrote the letter to the Romans, he went back to Jerusalem one more time, begging them to put their faith in Jesus as the Messiah. The Apostle Paul was certainly not convinced that God was finished with Israel. He was convinced God still had a plan and a purpose for them, and that would eventually be fulfilled before the return of Christ.
And in Target Israel, you outline, you and Dr. LaHaye, you outline the comparisons, if you will, the future of Israel, God's relationship with Jewish people, as well as God's future plan for the Church of Jesus Christ. It is filled, over 200 pages, folks, filled with great biblical truth. There's no stronger scholars out there on issues of prophecy and end times than our friends, the author of this book, Tim LaHaye and Ed Hindson, Target Israel, Caught in the Crosshair of the End Times. For many of you that are new to 100 Huntley Street, you may not have rolled up your sleeves yet to really dig into biblical prophecy and what it has to say and how biblical prophecy aligns itself so beautifully with today's headlines. We want to get a copy of this in your hands. Would you call us, go online, or write us? We'd love to hear from you today. And when you order Target Israel, a gift to help the ministry of 100 Huntley Street would be so appreciated. Hey, by the way, Dr. Hindson will be with us in studio here at 100 Huntley Street next week. We look forward to that. And these conversations we're having with him on Skype are fantastic. I know you're enjoying, we're hearing from you, and we appreciate that.